Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Ed Podcast. I'm your host, Kamar DJ Arnett. I'm flying solo today. Got a great dynamic guest for you. The amazing Dana Barger is here with me. She was so nice to squeeze out some time for our audience. Dana, could you please kind of introduce yourself to the audience and maybe give them a little bit of your origin story, if you could?
Absolutely. Well, first off, Kamar, I appreciate you having me today. My name is Dana Barger. I am the Director of Graduate Enrollment and Partnership Development. And I've been in higher education since 2008, starting out in enrollment, leading amazing teams, and now diving deep into what I truly love. And that is building powerful, sustainable partnerships.
Sure.
I'm passionate about connecting people, uncovering common goals, and creating opportunities that serve our students, our institutions, and our communities. And really, for me, it's all about working together for something bigger than ourselves. And
Sure.
I truly believe partnerships are where the real magic happens.
Absolutely. When did you first fall in love with higher education?
You know what? I kind of fell into it, to be honest. This is my second career. I've been doing this 17 and a half years.
Wow.
But, when I initially had graduated from college, I joined the AmeriCorps and was assigned to a after school summer program for children and adolescents.
Sure.
And I loved just counseling and advising and guiding them and just really speaking into adolescents and teens lives. Got into mental health counseling and I was a case manager. But you know what, I'm after 10 years of that, I fell into the enrollment sector with higher ed and I have never left. I'm here to
Wow.
stay.
Wow. What was it about the enrollment sector that made you just never look back once you got into it?
You know what? I wouldn't be where I am without my education
Sure.
and just being able to have opportunities. I'm a first gen college student, and I literally want to empower others to
Okay.
know and let them see their potential that, no one can take their education away from them. And there are so many exciting opportunities and amazing doors that can be open when people believe in themselves and get that education to help them along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So when you never thought about leaving enrollment at all.
No, I mean, there's never a dull moment in enrollment, right? I say that to my team all the time. I mean, you can do this as long as I have, and you've learned something new every day. And that's really the exciting part of it.
Sure.
I love being able to really pour into the university. I mean, we are the revenue generators. And it is just exciting to, lead teams, speak into people's lives,
Yep.
empower them to get started for their hopes and dreams of continuing their education, and that's what it's all about. I love it, and it's just people driven, and that's what I want to do.
Absolutely. Do you have maybe a story about one or two students that, and I know this is tough because there's so many that just really touched you to the point of kind of embody why you do it?
You know what? I think there are, and definitely I can tell you many
Yep.
stories, but for me, there was this one student
Sure.
where, again, first gen didn't have that many opportunities to really apply to that many schools. And I think, that personal connection that I was able to build just by listening, right?
Sure.
Hearing their story. Sometimes people don't have support systems to encourage them to, continue moving forward. And, for this student, I mean, it was such a huge impact to not only be an example for her kids and her family members, but this empowers her for her future. She was a single
Mhm.
mom, just working a few jobs, and she wasn't sure if she could do it. There's a lot of fear. It's a commitment to go to school. But when you are able to pour into someone's life to say, hey, look, like we can help you visualize this path. We're going to get you to where you need to go so that your family, your kids, your friends, they can walk or watch you walk across that stage and accomplish great things. And so that for me was just really powerful to know that, you know what, sometimes we're the conversations at the dinner table, or we may be their only cheerleader.
Sure.
And that just speaks volumes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a story. It was a Friday, and we got off early on Fridays, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'm there at 6:30 enrolling this young lady in surgical technology, and she's literally in tears telling me that she wouldn't be doing this had it not been for me as her admissions representative, and I still remember
Mhm.
that story to this day. So I definitely get it and understand what you're saying. I know one of the things you're really passionate about is the power of partnerships.
Mhm.
Can you maybe unpack that a little bit, and how do you think of that when you think about the power of partnerships?
Absolutely. When we build those real partnerships, we're just not really solving like today's problems. We're opening doors for students, for institutions, and for communities to just really meet people where they are and guide them towards meaningful futures. It's really about finding common ground, building trust, and working towards something that really none of us could achieve alone. And when done right, partnerships multiply impact.
Absolutely. Um, do you think we're moving to a climate where people are more excited about partnerships, or is it harder to kind of form them nowadays?
You know what? I am frequently going to a lot of community engagement events, conferences in higher education and leadership. And partnerships is the trend.
Yep.
Okay. AI as well. But every avenue of partnership seems to really be a hot topic right now, because the enrollment cliff is about to happen, and we've got to come up with new innovative ways to really increase brand awareness. It's
Sure.
competitive out there,
Sure.
and a lot of programs now have shifted to online, and we really want to stand out not only to attract students but really to take into consideration the employers, the community, just really being able to engage with them and saying, hey, we can make this a win-win, right? When both sides, and interests and needs are met, it's just easier to work together with that real energy and commitment.
Absolutely. So you brought up a phrase, the enrollment cliff, and I want to unpack that in a second. But it's interesting because, I did a podcast a couple weeks ago with the doctor, Irma Becerra, and
Mm-hmm.
she's president at Marymount University. And one of the things she talked about is how we're in an age now where education kind of has to prove itself and prove why people, need to enroll. And she's kind of so taken aback and appalled by it, right? And one of her great quotes was, if education isn't for everyone, can you please tell me who doesn't need education? And I was like, wow, that's legendary. But
Mm-hmm.
when you think about that and you talked about the enrollment cliff, do you kind of see that too in terms of, I guess, our society moving to a place where education or higher ed has to prove its value?
That's a great question, and it's a loaded question. I do think that just things are changing,
Sure.
right? Just every day, and student behaviors are changing, especially after COVID, right? I
Right.
think a
Yep.
lot of
Exactly.
students realized, okay, I can have a full-time job, I can have a flexible schedule, I can see myself doing this and hopefully making more of an impact, whether it's for promotional reasons
Right.
or making more money or just something that they're passionate about. There also are a lot of, I think, opportunities with focusing on people who have started their education and never finished it. I think
Mm,
maybe these statistics show like over 30 million people began some type of educational program and
right.
haven't finished it. And so, where I see an opportunity, Kamar, is to really lean into those people, get them re engaged, get them back on track, because they had initially had that interest at the very beginning. And for some reason, they had to stop or life happened.
Right.
So I really think, the future, especially working in graduate enrollment, there are a lot of opportunities to outreach and communicate and connect with those people that need to finish versus, yes, I mean, it's competitive,
Right.
right? And there's so many institutions out there saying, hey, our program's the best and
Right.
it's,
Right.
fast track and, really feasible financially.
Right.
But at the same time, I do think that people are going in different directions. Certificates are getting really popular, boot camps.
Right.
There are different ways to go about the traditional path of schooling,
Right.
but really people want it to be customized, but they also really just need to see the value in it.
Absolutely. So, how does all of that kind of play into the enrollment cliff that's coming?
You know what? I think it's just a matter of being creative and knowing and preparing, having strategic plans in place to know, okay, it's going to impact the traditional institutions
Right.
first with the undergrad programs,
Sure.
but eventually it's going to catch up to the graduate level and doctoral level. So, really just preparing and making sure that we are really coming together again with communities and employers and building partnerships so
Yes.
that we're aligned and we're all on the same page to have the same goals. When you have a common end goal, students are going to walk away with so much belief in themselves, but also we're exchanging resources, right? We
Sure.
are building that trust and respect and just believing that, what, this is bound to happen, but let's get ahead of it. Let's be proactive. So when it does happen, we're ready to go and we're going to take on that challenge.
Absolutely. So, to me, that plays into intentional collaboration and meaningful engagement with the campus and external communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to hear you speak to that a little bit more if you could.
Sure. Well, I think, when we are leveraging each other's strengths, when you are looking to build partnerships, we don't have to do everything, right? We
Right.
just need to bring what we do best to the table. I really think just being innovative and community centered is very vital to, aligning with this partnership. We can't be afraid to try new things,
Sure.
especially when the community is involved. I think innovation has to reflect real needs and we need to embrace diversity of thought. I
Sure.
think the differences in perspective can be your biggest strength. But when students see us partnering with the community, not just in it, but they begin to see the value in, staying and giving back. And I think our end goal is in front and center, right? What are we going to do here together? And how do we get there in a way that reflects our values and mission, but also is for the greater impact of reaching students and, helping them with their future career paths?
Absolutely. So there's campus and external community, collaboration, engagement, but then there's also strategic partnerships, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like partnerships on every level,
Right.
right? How do you think about strategic partnerships?
I think that strategic partnerships really have to be aligned with exactly what is each partner wanting out of the relationship.
Sure.
Goals do have to be aligned. And I think that's really where it starts. The best partnerships, again, are win wins. When both
Right.
sides' interests and needs are met, I think it does really help to work together for that real energy and commitment. But it also starts with the clear roles, right? Mutual respect. Again, this takes time to build. And so you have to be strategic about your outreach, your communication. I mean, you have to let it grow and evolve. It's not going to happen overnight. But when both parties are exchanging the same information, working from the same playbook, I think it is a lot easier to move forward. But again, reminding yourself that, okay, this is going to build over time. This isn't just going to be an instant thing and then you're going to see instant results.
Absolutely. So you've got to have, vision, right? You have to look, months and years into the future. Where do you see higher ed going, and is that the same place that it should be going? If that question makes sense.
Sure. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, right, we are preparing students not just to graduate, but
Right.
to thrive
Absolutely.
and to make money. I live here in San Diego and it is so expensive. And so we want people to be able to, live successfully and
Absolutely.
feel that, they have career opportunities, a clear pathway, and a future. I think it just really helps that we're not just teaching students, right? We're preparing them to contribute meaningfully in the real world. And I think that just requires coordination with the partnering to make sure that, for instance, maybe bring in guest speakers from certain industries,
Yeah.
organize shadowing days at corporations, getting employers into the classroom. I think this is where partnerships can shine when the school, the employers, and the communities align to build those clear career pathways. I think that just gets students really excited and
Absolutely.
they see, okay, I can fit in here and I'm going to make a difference in the world. And this is all going to pan out at the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What What type of, I guess advice or direction would you give to people that are kind of coming up and are looking to follow in your footsteps, right? And build partnerships with, within this role, and, to make sure that they're succeeding like you are.
Absolutely. Well, at the end of the day, it's really not about who gets credit with it, right? It's about making things work for students, for communities, for the future. I think when we lead with purpose, respect, and a willingness to collaborate, powerful things can happen. And that can happen, strategically or organically.
Right.
I think, sometimes partnerships can fail when there's no alignment. If our goals and values are off, we will be constantly stepping on one another. And I think, another big reason why these partnerships may not be fruitful
Right.
is if there's a lack of communication or follow through. I think that's where the trust erodes.
Sure.
Imbalanced contributions that can hurt momentum. But when one party feels like they're always carrying the load, that's really not going to equate to a sustainable partnership. And then just having that flexibility, right? Being open to new ideas or, coming up with new innovative ways of doing things.
Yeah.
I think that's where the impact can come from. But it's just honestly, it's about networking,
Sure.
getting out there, contacting people, just being a part of the community, and just really building relationships from the start.
Absolutely. Well, outside of partnerships, are there any other positive trends that you see in the higher ed that you're super excited about?
Sure. Well, I do think that just with partnerships, but in the San Diego area,
Sure.
I think what I'm excited about is that we have stepped into partnering with the sports arenas.
Ah, nice.
So we now have a partnership with the San Diego Padres.
Ah, nice.
And yes, the players use our biomechanics lab
Okay.
at one of our campuses. And that's
Oh,
just really exciting. Yeah, we have state of the art equipment, and to be able to really not only represent the city and our awesome baseball team, but to see, okay, where are the opportunities where students can have internships, right? I mean, that's really exciting.
right.
And I think just honestly, giving students an opportunity to interact with like student ambassadors, people who have been in a program or have experienced it firsthand, that is so valuable. I think we just have to get people excited to want to go to school, right? And so, for us, it's been really neat to see that we're partnering with sports teams. We
Absolutely.
also have a new partnership with the San Diego Football Club, and soccer is
Nice.
really popular here. And so I think just getting that community alignment with seeing like all of these teams and how our institution here at Point Loma is really thriving. I think, everyone can connect on sports. And it's just, I think, a unique way to build that excitement. But to answer a little bit more of that question with where the direction is going, I think honestly, we just need to embrace the things that we can control,
Sure.
and what we can't control, we just have to be prepared. But education's not going anywhere.
Right. Definitely not. And you just brought up a great point about involving the students. How essential do you believe the students can be or should be to, like you said, the higher ed institutions kind of building those partnerships within the community? Because that was a great point.
Thank you. Well, I really think it goes back to having, student ambassadors,
Yep.
right? And alumni.
Sure.
They are just very powerful to speak to prospective students in ways that maybe, enrollment departments and counselors can't, because maybe they haven't gone through the program. Being able to talk to someone that has been in their shoes or is going through the same type of program, that's exciting because they want to hear the results. They want to, hear about their journey and now, the opportunities of where they're working or what community involvement has opened the doors to just really excelling because of their education. I think we really just need to ask too, do students see themselves going to school here? I think that answer can really shape things,
Sure.
but just leaning in to the alumni who can really have that storytelling just journey to walk alongside people who are interested in the school but just are maybe fearful and are resistant. Those student voices are the most powerful opportunities to really engage those who are looking to attend college.
Absolutely. Dane, I can't think of a better place to end it than right there. This has been awesome. Can you let our guests, excuse me, I'm sorry, our audience know where they can find you? LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. How could they reach out to you if they need to?
Absolutely. Well, this has been awesome. And I could talk about this all day long, Kamar. But yes, again, my name is Dana Barger, and I live in San Diego, California. I work for Point Loma Nazarene University as the Director of Graduate Enrollment and Partnerships. You can reach me on LinkedIn at Dana_Barger, and I would love to connect and see where we can come together and work for the greater good for higher education and just life in itself. I love
Absolutely.
life.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. Dana, this is awesome. We'll definitely try to get you back on the podcast sometime in the future. You have a great day. And once again, we appreciate your time. You take care.